Hello YouTube, welcome back to my YouTube for Beginners series where I tackle common questions that people have when it comes to starting on YouTube for the first time. For today's video, I decided to talk about audience retention. What is audience retention? The reason why I decided to talk about this is not only is it a common question that everybody asks when it comes to YouTube, it is also a term that I use a lot in my videos. And the other day, one of my friends was like, oh, I like your videos, but sometimes I don't really understand them. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I should probably talk about some of the lingo that is associated with YouTube. So as a result, this video is going to be dedicated to what audience retention is on YouTube and how it affects your performance, the channel performance, how it affects the amount of views that you get, and how this knowledge can help your channel grow in a better way. As always, if you have any more questions, leave them in the comments below. And also remember to like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed it. When YouTube first started, they didn't really have the right metrics in place in order to track which videos did well. 10 years ago, there weren't a lot of videos on YouTube, there weren't a lot of creators, and it was more of like a video sharing website for a very small group. As they grew and they realized there is business opportunity and they realized that there is a lot of creative opportunity, that's when more was invested into creating a way to see which videos are good. Whenever I talk about audience retention, it is because I'm talking about some of the metrics on YouTube. YouTube has so many videos nowadays on the platform, so how would they be able to know which videos are better, which videos to recommend, which videos not to recommend? That's when audience retention comes in. I mentioned the beginning of YouTube because back then, the only thing they could track was viewership and also the rating. But as people became more clever, they started making clickbait content. And thumbs up if you know what clickbaiting is, because nowadays there's so little clickbaiting on YouTube compared to before because of how YouTube's metrics has really clamped down on that. There's still people who do it, but overall I think it is a lot less. Now, because of the fact that there was a lot of misleading information and people were leaving the website because they clicked in there to see something that was really extreme, but they realized it was just something else, YouTube introduced more sophisticated metrics in order to track videos. Audience retention is one of the most important metrics that YouTube uses to track. What it is it is the average view duration in terms of when a video is being watched and how long that video is being watched for. There's two basic metrics when it comes to audience retention. The first one is the minutes that are being watched, or even seconds or hours, whatever it is the duration. So for example, if this video is going to be 10 minutes long, on average people watch a duration of 5 minutes versus 1 minute. That tells YouTube that the 5-minute average view duration is a lot better compared to the 1 minute, because the 1 minute is like after watching me for less than a minute or around there, you decide to leave already, which means the content wasn't very good. The second part of audience retention has to do with the percentage of the video that is being viewed as well. Now, in the past, that was kind of the main metric that YouTube looked at for audience retention, but nowadays, YouTube looks at the minutes or the seconds that are being watched because that is going to be the most important aspect. YouTube's bottom line is ensuring that people stay on the platform as long as possible. Therefore, if you have an extra minute or two of people staying on your video, they are going to recommend your content slightly more than other people where people only stay for 2 to 3 minutes. This is the reason why average view duration is something that I talk about a lot, but you actually don't see when you're a consumer on YouTube. You only see it in the YouTube studio as a content creator. For consumers, there's no reason for us to see what the audience retention of a video is. What we see is just the views that accumulate on the videos and the likes that accumulate on the video. But from a content creator perspective, we will see how many minutes are accumulated as a whole to see what the average view duration is and whether or not the content is quality content or if it is just mediocre content where people click on the video and then after 1 minute they leave. I'm going to go into some specific strategies in order to increase your audience retention, but let me know what you do when it comes to increasing your audience retention. And I also want to see if anybody would comment what is playing in the background there, because that's also one of my favorite channels. So just a little Easter egg there. All right, let's talk about tactics when it comes to increasing your audience retention. I'm going to start from the most basic understanding to some of the more nitty-gritty specific things when it comes to audience retention. The first tactic that I would suggest when it comes to making content has to do with having structured bullet points, including using lists, using reasons or other aspects that can give some structure to your content. The reason why I say that is because when people are looking for information and they're looking for more educational based content, then they would really want to see kind of what they're expecting. One tip that I can say is that this applies a bit more for, like I said, educational and maybe more for the older demographic as well, because naturally people from that demographic, let's say like 30 to 55, which currently on YouTube is the fastest growing demographic, that demographic of people oftentimes would end up not wanting to watch the entire thing unless if there's some structure for it. That's why I started off with creating a list, because it is easy, it is pretty malleable when it comes to what type of content there is, and it appeals to a good audience when it comes to the type of content that you do. The second tactic that I can tell you is having sort of a sneak peek when it comes to the content that you're creating. This tactic, I would say, is definitely more common among the more content focused rather than educational focused. The one I can think about is the type of lifestyle content, the type of more long form content which has a lot more info. For example, if I'm doing a vlog, it would be pretty weird for me to have like a bullet point list of all the things I'm going to do today. So what you can do instead is actually have a sneak peek of something that's very exciting, something that you're talking about in the video or in the title, and then as a result, once it happens, you can put it in the beginning of the video. Having the sneak peek is kind of like having a trailer in the beginning, because if the video is pretty long, it's unlikely that people want to watch the entire thing, especially if you're starting off with something that seems a bit more reserved, and that's very common. But if you start off the video clearly showing what is going to happen and also leaving people wanting more, that is going to increase your audience retention. The third and final tactic that we can talk about when it comes to increasing your audience retention has to do with the more vocal aspect of your video. Now, I know a lot of times when I talk about strategies, it is a bit more general, but that is only because I like to cater to all of the audiences, and a lot of these strategies can be applied to a broad variety of genres. Now, this last strategy is talking about vocalizing and making clear what you're going to be talking about when it comes to the video. This is especially important when you are not as well known and you are in a place that's very competitive. A lot of people, when they start on YouTube, they don't realize this because the people that they watch, they might not be doing any of these tactics. They might not be doing any of the things I talk about, but the reason why is because they are at a situation where they do not need to focus as much on these strategies, given just the sheer amount of volume that they have when it comes to the audience. But for people who are just starting and trying to differentiate themselves, audience retention can be really important. So that's why when you are making videos, you want to make clear in the beginning what your videos are going to be talking about. You want to make clear what are the strategies or what are the topics that you're going to be going into. If you're teaching something, to mention the bullet points first. That way people have an idea of what they're going to expect, and if there's something that they already know, they would be able to skip and go to the other part of the video. Overall, it's always better from YouTube's perspective that people are skipping to another part rather than closing the browser and ending the time that they're on YouTube. Hopefully that gives you a better understanding of what audience retention is and how you can increase the average view duration, how you can increase the minutes that are being watched on your video by using the 3 tactics that I mentioned. If you want to learn more about YouTube, check out some of my other videos where I tackle common questions that people have when it comes to starting on YouTube. And of course, remember to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Bye-bye.